whichever equipment manufacturer gets to making machines that emphasize the stretch and de-emphasize the contraction in all exercises, they're going to have endorsement of most of us.
Yep.
They're going to have tons of sales because I'll promo the shit, and it's just going to make a ton of money. It's just going to be categorically the best equipment right out of the gate.
It's just frustrating as well because most machines nowadays are the opposite.
The opposite. Gym machines are begging us for a ranking. And I finally heard their call, and I've called you in. I summoned you from our walls. Tell us about gym machines.
Just say the dirty words next time.
I can't.
Tier list.
The CIA's like beating me with like heavy metal
Ranking.
playing in the background. Say it. Say tier list. But then Scott rescues me in a helicopter and we fly away.
And then you just say exercise scientists' 5 favorite exercises instead.
Yes.
And you live happily ever after, never having soiled yourself.
In parentheses, soils himself. Scott, write it down.
Listen, it's time for YouTube views.
Milo caught my loophole.
It really did, man.
Wow.
I like get hit by a truck. You're like, oh my God, are you okay? I'm on the ground. I'm like, thumbnail, title, like he's fine. He'll be fine. It's all he talks about anyway.
You're the mastermind, you know?
Yeah.
All right, let's do this collaboratively. So we'll kind of like...
shit, I have to do stuff?
Yeah, I'll tell you a machine, you give your take, give me a tentative tier. I'll push back, tell you you're wrong.
Damn
we
it.
start fighting,
Why
I
do I
lose
go
within
first?
about half a second and we move on. Let's start with chest. The chest press machine. Just flat chest press machine. What tier for chest development?
Mid. Is that a tier?
That's not a tier, bro. Get
But
with
that's
it.
a video game thing. Video game people say. It's mid, bro.
S, A,
Bet.
B, C, D. 5 tiers. B is median.
Use the average chest press machine for me would be mid tier. And that really
Okay,
is.
listen. Say mid tier one more time. I'm going to fucking lose it.
Okay, I
Is
see.
it B?
So I think it's pretty close to like mid tier is how I would say it.
You're refusing.
As soon as I sniffed out you hate mid
You're
tier.
ruining the thumbnail
I'm
right now. The
taking
thumbnail's going
revenge
to be S, A, B, C, D.
Exercise scientists beef live. B tier.
Mhm.
On average, there are very awesome machines. There are very not awesome machines. I can be more specific. Some chest press machines have a lot of friction, which means the concentric eccentric ratio is thrown off, and then it's not seemingly as much growth inducing. Some chest press machines, bottom position is like already here and not at a deep stretch. Some chest press machines, you could get a deep stretch, but you can't get into it because it's the hardest part at the bottom and you physically can't get in the machine. But chest press machines with variable seats, variable back rest, a push off handle, and that are leveraged to have a high degree of tension at the bottom position and stretch you a ton are actually S tier. But some of the other machines are like D tier.
Yep.
And so B tier, I'll put it this way. Here's how I'm doing the tier list in my head. I show up to a random gym I'm traveling for work and I see a chest press machine off in the distance, but I can't tell what it is. Someone's like, what do you think, chest press machine today? I'm like, let's go look at it.
Mhm.
On average, I'm not impressed, but it could be great and it could be terrible. What do you think?
I feel that. I think it reminds me of a leg press.
Yes.
And that a good leg press,
Goated.
highest tier,
Yes.
basically. Whereas a bad leg press is like bottom of D.
Useless.
The one thing I'll say is that most chest press machines kind of suck. So just going on the average chest press machine, I'll go like low B, because so many chest press machines are plate loaded and have effectively no resistance at the bottom.
Yeah.
And then resistance kind of
No offense, but
increases a ton.
hammer strength chest press machines,
Terrible.
I've been telling people I hate them for years and everyone's always confused. Like, I love them. And I'm like, but why?
It's almost the worst.
And the Hammer Strength as a company makes tons of amazing equipment. It's just the
Chest press
machines they
sucks.
got famous for were the ones I didn't like the least.
Yeah. So I'd say low beta.
Yeah.
Can we
Agreed.
settle on it?
Yeah.
Beautiful. Next, we have the incline chest press machine. It's a bit rare, but what do you think?
So I have the Atlantis one,
Oh,
and like 2 sets in, you're going to be like, I'm going to die here.
Mm.
My pecs are going to explode. But it checks almost every box that I talked about. So I would say of the incline chest press machines I have used, there's some older Cybex models that are really dope. I say that on average do better than regular chest press machines. So I would say like
them,
B plus tier. Yeah.
I'll go low A because one, I think incline chest pressing is slightly better probably overall because upper chest matters more. The one study on by Chavez and colleagues found more growth. And I think that the people who do incline chest press machines usually are kind of in the know and serious about it. So they make them better than the average. Flat
Curator,
chest press.
I see.
Yeah.
You see someone on the incline chest press and they tip their top hat to you. And
Monocle.
one of their servants also nods to you, but not in your general direction because eye contact from the servants. That's ridiculous.
That's a day in your gym.
Yep. Literally.
Final chest exercise, the combined pec fly, rear delt fly machine.
There's so many angles to take. One is like, would I buy one for my gym? And the answer is like, that's a whole lot of space to take up for like 2 exercises, 4 if you get creative with one arm stuff. To me, I would say B or C tier because the tension provided at the top, it's not marginally anymore. Like it's on average a worse exercise than a dumbbell fly, which you can do infinite variations of if you just have dumbbells and an adjustable bench. We're talking about the pec deck, right? Yeah. Usually you can't change the incline on one of those, so it's a very kind of static situation. Some of the better machines allow a lot of variability and grips and can actually like you can change the fulcrum as you, or sorry, they change the moment arm as you go up and down, which accommodates for a lot of different body types. Is good for the shoulders. I would say a really good, and I've used a few of these, a cam system fly machine, which puts a ton of tension at the bottom and not as much at the top, is A tier for sure. But much of the time, I'm left with a lot to be desired in those kinds of machines.
So you'd go low B, high C?
Low B on a good day.
Yeah, I hear that. I think.
Sorry, I'm sorry. I don't mean to cut you off. Just to finish my shit. The rear delt fly, unless you turn sideways in the machine and do it this way, and then a lot of times the arc is just awkward. The rear delt fly, I think you get so much rear delt work from back exercises, and there's so many better rear delt exercises, like anything you do with a turned cable, that it's just not an amazing thing for rear delts, and I'm just not ultra excited about it unless you have one of those selectorized ones with a cam system in which it's really tough at the bottom and easier at the top. Those are cool, but still much of the time it doesn't let you get beyond that angle. So as a combo machine, it's like a decent chest exercise and a meh rear delt exercise, and you're kind of like, yeah, it's tough to get out of the B's, I'll tell you that.
So you'll put the rear delt functionality at like what, a C?
C.
Yeah, I feel that. No, I agree. I'm a bit more sympathetic to the machine for chest specifically because I think that it allows for like a unlimited stretch effectively because of the combined function. Like you can always set it to rear delt and get a crazy pec stretch if you want to.
Yes.
And it's stack loaded, so always nice. I tend to agree. The resistance curve is the only thing that I'm a bit iffy about typically. Like it's always like...
Yeah, you can fix that with length and partials, which is great. But I'm of the opinion that if you need to fix something about something,
just dumbbell flies.
It's independent ranking sucks. Yeah. It's like, but you can jury rig this to be better. Like, yeah, it's not really like, oh yeah, I got a date for you with a girl. Like, what's she like? Like, if you squint, she's amazing. You're like, dude.
Yeah, no, I agree. Okay.
Well, yes, I'll go on the date because otherwise no one will date me.
It's true. First date ever. Excited.
I show up like this.
Low B tier it is. Let's move on to the back. The first is just a lat pull down machine. So cable variant.
C tier.
Wow.
Yeah. I've had a falling out of love affair with lat pull downs because the resistance profile is backwards. And I just hate that a ton. And for pull-ups and assisted pull-ups, they get such a much higher quality eccentric that I can do pull-ups till I'm blue in the face. I love them. Assisted pull-ups are amazing. And every time I look to lat pull-downs, it's just kind of like, oh, it's like if you grew up in a small town, you had a favorite restaurant, then you go to school in New York City for a year and you come back and someone's like, still your favorite, right? You're like, I used to eat here? This is unconscionable. My butlers would never allow this. You know, like when you get better situations. So for me, I think lat pull downs are a good exercise, mostly because they're just the exercise that exists. Gee whiz, unless you have Versa grips, you're going to be limited by grip anyway. And it's just the fact that if you have a good selectorized cable stack, the selectorization is nice.
Mm-hmm.
Then again, pull-ups are very easy to load just with more reps. Yep. Assisted pull-up machines are also selectorized. So it becomes kind of a thing. A lot of times there's a high degree of friction. And so it's really tough to pull down, but the eccentric feels really easy, which again is just kind of like crap.
Yeah.
So I would love to throw more love at the lat pull down cable situation. But to be honest, like it's just been falling out of favor. Like, I come home and lat pull down's like, what were you up to all day? I'm like, just mutter something and go to the basement and look up internet adult films because I just don't want to talk to her anymore.
Damn, that's wild. Exercise scientists rankings will shock you. I don't know. I have more love for it. Like, I don't know that I think pull-ups and assisted pull-ups are that much better. Like, I think they're quite interchangeable for the most part. I hear the eccentric thing. I think the resistance curve can be circumvented.
How?
By just doing partials.
So theoretically, yes. And for most people, practically, yes. Mm-hmm. For me, it just feels so awkward and weird and the shoulders feel like crap.
Sure.
That I'm just like, and I just don't like it. And also
that's enough. It's a tier list. That's the beauty of it.
That's it.
You just inject your opinion.
That's it. And then you get a tier list. That's content.
Yeah.
There's actually a funny comedy page on YouTube called It's Content. They just went straight to us. Content. That's all we're doing. The thing is, yes, the length and partials help, but also the resistance isn't the highest in that part. Yep. So it's like C-tier length and partial exercise. Yeah,
it's like plating up some shit, but nicely.
Yes, very well plated shit. Yes, 100%.
I agree. I mean, I just don't know that besides pullovers, there's many lat exercises that are that much better.
Well, so like whoever gets to this first, I'll endorse your company and we'll make lots of money together. Same cable lat pull down, but with a fucking cam system that makes it very easy at the bottom and very hard. Do you have a lat pull down?
They have a lat pull. They
have like an isolated station situation. I've used it. It's okay. It's a little strange. Yeah, it's great. Prime equipment is great. Yeah. It's not my favorite thing in the world, but you have a cam system on a cable. It's nominally easy to do. Yeah. And I've said this a few times. Whichever equipment manufacturer gets to making machines that emphasize the stretch and de-emphasize the contraction in all exercises, they're going to have endorsement of most of us. Yep. They're going to have tons of sales because I'll promo the shit and it's just going to make a ton of money. It's just going to be categorically the best equipment right out of the gate. It's one of these things where we already know what's going on. The first people across the finish line are just going to win big because I have so many other things going on. I would love to clone myself and just start an equipment company because you and I could just crush. Jared and I have been talking about this for years. Like if we just start an equipment company, we would just shut everyone fucking, not really, but for hypertrophy purposes specifically, everyone would just be like, have you used the RP line? And people are like, no, like try it. It would just be the best. There's just so many ways machine manufacturing goes wrong. And the lat pull down, not having a cam system in it that allows you to have a huge stretch and an easy time on the bottom. I mean, my God, man, wouldn't that be instantly so much better?
Yeah. It's just frustrating as well because most machines nowadays are the opposite.
The opposite. Yeah. A lot of that, unfortunately, came from just default and from the influence of equipped powerlifting onto hardcore gym circles where accommodating resistance was a thing. And it makes sense logically. You're like, well, like I want it to be harder on the one part than the other, but it's like for muscle growth, it doesn't work like that. You know?
For sure. Cool. I think I can, let's put it at low B tier.
Low B is fine. Yeah.
Cool. Next, cable rows.
I would put cable rows done flexion style at an A tier, if not S tier, because it really is one of those magical exercises, the flexion cable row, that hits every single part of your back, which is really cool. It involves active spinal flexion and extension, which is super healthy for you and makes you really strong, injury resilient, good hypertrophy. Again, if you built me a cable row in which the foot plates were very far from the attachment, so I can do it flexion style, and you put a cam system in that made it very difficult at the stretch and easy at the contraction, it would be instantly goated back exercise as far as rows are concerned, and maybe as far as most back exercises are concerned. But in the real world, I give it like a B tier, B plus, A minus tier, because a lot of times I try to get a big stretch on the thing, but they put the foot plate so fucking close to the cable that I'm just like, that's it. Can you lean back more? Like, nope, I'm already fully extended legs.
Yeah.
It doesn't. So in real life, it's like,
Yep. I agree. I think the two things that hold it back for me, I agree with A minus. One, the lack of chest support. Like, I think that all else being equal, chest support is a good thing.
Great, because you can really grind it with your back and not be limited by anything else.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the second thing is resistance profile. Like something like a T-bar row has at least a bit more resistance in the stretch and less in the shorten. A minus.
I can never get into a T-bar row in such a way that my lower body feels stable and comfortable and I'm pulling into the right position. So I'm kind of like, in theory, this exercise is great, but I actually prefer a T-bar style chest supported row like Atlantis makes.
Let's move on to that one.
Oh, shit.
What tier?
That specific machine?
Chest supported T-bar row machine, yeah.
A tier. Because not S, because I for a variety of reasons, but I would say because it's chest supported, because it gives you a crazy stretch, and because it's loaded better at the stretch. Not ideally, it's not a great lat exercise, but it's a great mid back exercise. For those reasons. Another one is, while yes, it's annoying to take the plates on and off because they're at a weird angle, you just, if you're doing it properly, you usually don't need a lot of plates. People do 8 plates on, like, shut up, stop. It also, a lot of times, I really like the ones, this is not a requirement, I really like the ones that have a distinct end. Like, I want a maximum stretch at the bottom, but I like ones where there's like a clank. So as soon as I hit the clank, I know I can go back down. It gets hard to count reps when you're like, I don't know, I did kind of this, kind of this, just moving shit around. So, you know, like the Atlantis machine, a few others are really, really awesome. Sometimes you go to a gym and the 45-degree chest supported row is like exceptionally large and complicated and long, and there's these foot pads that move, and the pad is the hardest thing in the world. It's made of like diamonds, so it crushes your bro. Like, I do jujitsu, I'm used to a lot of shit, and I'm like, I'm not even thinking about my back anymore. So if you're out there making machines, make a soft, comfortable chest pad for a 45-degree row, and you're in the money.
Yeah, I'd say high A, low S, because I think compared to alternatives, unless you're talking about the Blast Prime machine where you get everything. I just don't know if there's any other machines that are like commonly available that beat it consistently. All right. The regular chest supported row machine.
Just at any gym.
Yeah. Just the average one.
B tier, because a lot of the regular ones actually have the ability that if you grab the handles high and push the chest pad out, most of them an adjustable chest pad, you get a baller stretch. Some of them, including the Matrix row, which is
I have that.
Profoundly expensive, but quite nice. If you get your Versas wrapped in there, it's actually harder at the stretch and easy as shit at the contraction.
One?
No, selectorized one.
Platelet one is also baller.
Oh, dope. And like the Flex Lewis at Dragon's Lair in Vegas, they have one of those. And every time Jared and I are there, like, we're training back, we're like, yeah, and we go to it. It has the option of doing one side at a time, which you and I have discussed is largely a waste of time, but some people like it.
Just very fatiguing.
Yes.
Feels like.
Yes. The only problem I have, and this is why it's not, to me, A tier, like usually, like, there are often many good ones. If you get a bad one, they're often so bad that it's just like, who made this? It's this weird mid-range bullshit. And I've been on some where so first of all, one of the ones I hate, but Jared seems to like, is the one where the handles rotate from the bottom instead of the top. So you're doing one of these and then you're coming back up in, and I'm just not even sure what the fuck's that's supposed to work. So I like the ones where the rotation is over the top. Those are quite good, but a lot of times it's like, it doesn't let you give a big stretch. And for some reason, a lot of times it's profoundly difficult at the contraction and very easy at the stretch. I used a machine a few weeks back that was like that. Luckily right now I'm trying to maximize back width, and my back thickness is so preposterous compared to the rest of my body. I do one set of rows every 5 days and I'm good to go. That was my one set. And I was just like, I did the set and I was like, thank God I'm only doing one set. Because if I was doing an actual rowing based workout, I would have just fucking burned that machine.
No, I agree. I think most machines, almost all machines, are pretty bad at loading the stretch. So I'd give it a low A just in terms of supporting the chest and almost always at least giving you a good stretch, minus the resistance there. But yeah, high B, low A.
I'd be low.
Seems reasonable. Next up, we have the assisted pull-up machine. I get a feeling you like this one.
Theoretically, I like it. And when you find a really good assisted pull-up machine, it's awesome. In reality, B+, because sometimes the foot plate is kind of unstable, doesn't reach up high enough. Sometimes you're either limited at the top or at the bottom. You just pick which one. You're a tall king. You know how that feels.
It's always just an L for me.
Yeah.
Like, whichever grip you take, you just lose.
You lose one way or another. So because I'm a short king, for me, it's quite good. I do think that when so there's one old school Nautilus assisted pull-up. Scott, remember that weird gym in the basement in Columbus during the Arnold, the 80s gym?
Oh, yeah.
They had an old school Nautilus, and it actually like brings you closer to the machine at the bottom and further away at the top, which literally just like stretches the shit out of your lats.
Oh, yes.
And you have to do a kind of a combination of like pullover.
Yeah.
And it seemed that it was very well smoothed and oiled, and it was like amazing eccentric control and tension at the bottom. Again, if someone makes an assisted pull-up machine that has a cam system in it, it's instantly goated as maybe the best lat exercise you can fucking do. Some reason nobody got the memo yet for that shit. So it really is like, it's a B tier, B plus tier for me, A minus. Unless you get some machines like the old Gravitron machine, S tier. The average assisted pull-up machine at an average gym is usually like disappointment tier. So what do you think?
I agree. The one or two things that put me off it a little bit. One is most assisted pull-up machines have you kneeling, and the kneeling ones to me have an issue with degrees of freedom, where like as it gets harder and harder, it typically is difficult to keep your knees in one position perfectly. So the resistance profile tends to get a bit janky towards the end. If you're standing on it and it's the right height for you, beautiful. Like yours, for example, in your gym, beautiful, you know, because you're standing right on them.
No, I kneel on mine. My
okay.
wife stands on it because she's really
standing
tiny.
is usually so much better.
Yeah.
I find
It feels more stable and everything.
Yes. By comparison, lat pull downs at least have you locked in.
Yeah.
And that feels like you can just focus on the back. But yeah, so I'd say high B is a solid option overall. All right. Next up, we have the high row machine.
It depends on where the force curve is. Some of them are great. Some of them are total crap. Some you can adjust. I typically don't love the high row because I just can't connect with it personally. On theoretical grounds, it looks great. So I would say theoretical grounds is A tier. For me personally, it's usually C tier because it just, I don't know what I'm fucking supposed to be getting out of it. It doesn't quite stretch the lats enough and put enough tension on them for being a good lat exercise. It doesn't give you that super locked in compound pulling to get that gnarly mid back thickness. So to me, it's kind of like lost in its own world. It looks on paper like the optimal exercise. In reality, when you do it, a lot left to be desired in most cases.
Yeah, agree fully. I think the way almost all plate loaded high row machines are, the resistance profile is pretty awesome.
Backwards.
All right, final back one. And this is a bit of a left fielder. The back extension machine, as in like literally the isolated lumbar extension machine.
C or D tier, because usually when you are fully flexed, you're unloaded to a huge extent. When you're extended maximally, you're actually like fully loaded. And so it doesn't do the whole lengthened application of load. A lot of times, if you're a wider king, the handles that stick out, you can't hold a plate because your elbows hit the fucking handles. So
sorry, I meant the actual machine, like the stack loaded one. Selectorized machine where you extend the back.
Oh, yeah. D tier because it's so awkward to use. It takes you like 3 weeks to get into the right position. It's like on paper, it looks cool.
Yep.
In reality, I've tried a few of them and I'm like, what is this even? It's just ultra like the back pad sort of, you don't know exactly where to put it. I think it's just user error. So in reality, it's probably like a B tier. But for me, it's like if I see one, I'm like, here's another thing. there are so many exercises which use your lower back. And if you do a decent amount of bent rowing, a decent amount of compound pulling, deadlift, stuff like that, good mornings and things like that, you're already so Gucci on that part of your body that a specified dedicated machine for that to me is often confusing. It's also one of those things where you see like a 65-year-old man reading the newspaper as he does it with this kind of range of motion. And you're like, that's who that machine is for.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think I've been spoiled because I've actually conducted some research with like a lab grade one where it locks in your hips, it locks in everything, and you just go full flexion, full extension. And it's an IKD, meaning that you can push as hard as you want and it'll push back. Yep. And I did one set on that once, and I was like, you feel your back like you never have.
Yeah.
And so I feel like if someone came up with a good machine for it, it could be like A or even STIF or just overall back development, because it's a stretch like you've never felt, a stimulus for a part of your back that you don't usually get into a deep stretch position under load. But as you mostly find them, C tier.
Yeah.
Whatever. All right, we've covered chest and back. Let's move on to arms. Not many for arms typically. One is the preacher curl machine.
I have real dog shit mobility in my shoulders. And so for me, it just hurts my elbows or shoulders. And I don't like it. Usually the force curve is terrible. Jared loves doing these one arm at a time. I just don't have the patience for one arm at a time bullshit anymore in my life. Just kidding. I never have. And so for me, it's usually like C tier. It's the last thing I'd ever go to in a gym.
Fair enough. I'd say C tier as well. Resistance curve falls dog shit usually. The stretch is dog shit because you're flexing your shoulder even.
Yeah.
Oftentimes it doesn't even allow you to get full elbow extension under load, like the stack bottoms.
Or even for the, because there's some ASMR value in like a squeeze peak. Not even that. I've used machines where it's just like the middle range only. And I'm like, I don't even know why I'm doing anymore.
I would ever use them is if I'm traveling and I'm like, cool, I just want to train my arms now and sit down somewhere. C tier.
Yes.
What about the seated bicep curl machine where you have like the elbow support and you're just going?
Usually they're not cam adjusted, and so the load at the bottom isn't ideal. Atlantis has one, which is good. I would say B tier. I've used a few others from a few other manufacturers, and it's like someone's trying to rip my shoulders and elbows apart. It just all fits together all fucking wrong. A lot of times too, there's no adjustment in which way the handles face. If the handles had a little bit of pronation ability, it would be dope, but it's so supinated that I'm like, I'm just getting basically like I'm armbarring or kimuring myself. And so I'm just like, this is dumb. So usually C tier, but the good ones can be B tier.
Yeah, I'd say C tier. I've never actually encountered a good one. I'd say it's marginally better than the preacher curl machine.
Yes, which is not saying
getting
much.
A bit more stretch because their shoulder's neutral.
And you can arch your back and push your chest out. None of them really reward that though.
Yeah, I don't know that bicep machines in general are that good. Like those are the two ones you usually see.
Literally.
And they're never that good.
And again, if someone made a machine which put you into a big incline position and allowed you to have degrees of freedom and pronation, supination, and cammed it so it was really hard here and really easy here, it would be golden era shit. But
one day. Final one, the seated tricep extension machine. So specifically the preacher tricep.
Double dildo. Hate. D tier. The worst. Just literally just is a machine to hurt your elbows, and not even hurt in a cool way, like just irritate until you're pissed. You can barely generate any force. If you try to generate a force, you just push yourself off the pad. You have almost like I've literally used a machine like this where the amount of force it would take to go from here to lockout was like infinity. And here I could just do this for forever, which is good for double dildo and do. And what time is it? And will very soon again. Basically, there was just nothing in the stretch. Not only was there no force application, but if I move my body back a little bit, the machine bottomed out. The fucking worst. The worst.
Adding on to it, besides just feeling my abs to try and keep myself into position from going back, if you go reasonably heavy, your elbows also start kind of like lifting off to the point that you stop getting stretch with each rep. Like you get less and less stretch as the set progresses.
Yes. So you have two functions. Actually, now it's just a rear delt machine. Great for rear delts.
Horrible. Like I wish someone made a machine like that was at least sufficiently stabilized, like your spine, so that you can get
Give
a
me
good
something.
Stretch. It's just like
give me a back pad.
The worst. Atlantis has a back pad on theirs.
See, Atlantis is always doing one step ahead. Here's the thing. I made up a term back a few years ago when I was debating some biomechanics folks. I call it diagrammatical biomechanics, where you looked at some diagrams and you're like, that must be how the human body works. And you made a machine only on that. Like, I swear to God, people who made that original machine did not lift weights or lifted bro style, where they're like, okay, so what does a tricep do? It extends, right? They're like, okay, here's the machine that will let you extend. Folks, that's not enough. Not in 2024. I'm sorry.
The only time I hear anyone using it is if you have a home gym, you really love machines, and you're like, I need to combo something here.
No, what a waste of money and space. My God.
Fair enough.
Just get a Smith machine. Can you imagine? That's like 800 exercises.
One of both, and then Golden Cigar, and then, Lambo, Squirt.
Just crash your Lambo into your gym and have the insurance somehow pay for a new machine.
Hey, man, you heard it here. Legs and shoulders left. We'll leave shoulders for last. Legs is a big one. Leg extension first.
Yeah. We had a video earlier where we ranted about how terrible. Most leg extension machines are better used as like filler for your dumpster. To all your earlier points, closing up the hip, not allowing a stretch for the muscles and the connect hip to knee and the quad. Most of the time, not only do you get not a very large range of motion at the bottom, but the tension at the bottom sucks. Tension at the top is very high. It's just like a backwards, stupid machine. Now, if you don't have a lot of time, if you're systemically very fatigued, doing a gigantic myo rep set of a leg extension followed by a 2/3 bottom bodyweight squat, great way to cook your quads. Not a sustainable way to train, because you're just going to be like, this is stupid. This is a giant waste of my time. So leg extension in that capacity sucks. If you have a prime leg extension, it's a bigger range of motion. You can put the cam system to have it harder at the bottom, and you can pull the plate back to lean back. Then it's B tier. My idea for a machine, and if you're listening, feel free to just make this. I will endorse it. You can send me one. Is have a elevated foot plate, have basically a device you grab, like a pad that goes into the crease of your elbows, potentially, maybe with some handles on it, and a selectorized stack to unload that. So the device actually pulls you up, and then you put your toes, or actually the tops of your toes, onto the padding at the bottom, and you sink down vertically, knees first, like a sissy squat machine. That is the way to leg extend. You make that machine. If you're still listening, equipment designers, you install a cam system that makes the bottom of that extra hard. You don't even need a cam system because the top will be easier just by leverage. But that extra tiny little bit of cam there, it will be the greatest leg extension machine instantly. Make it. But until now, it's dog shit. D tier.
Agreed. I think C tier for the average leg extension. And the only reason it's not D tier is because at least it's an isolation movement. You'll actually get to train your quads and not anything else. You can do it for high reps, all that jazz. A bad leg extension is bottom of D tier. A good one is like B tier at best.
Yeah.
I think a good machine that I think someone's already made maybe is one where you just essentially lie down and then get like the pad to go all the way back effectively. Yeah. So you get full hip extension, and you also don't just extend the knees, but lying down. That
would be amazing.
But yeah, C tier it is.
Yeah.
Your favorite, the seated calf raise machine.
F tier.
It's not even a thing. We're capping it at D.
Oh, no cap, I thought you said. D tier. Yeah. I mean, it trains the soleus only as well as everything else trains the soleus, not even specifically good. It takes up space in the gym. It doesn't train the gastrocs, which means that's the big part of the calf that everyone thinks they're training. It's got one of those special little insights. I love this quirkiness of how things work out. It's no machine would be better than that machine, because then you're not under the illusion that you're doing something beneficial. Like, at least don't lie to people. It's like someone's like, what's better? A poisonous protein? No, sorry, bad analogy. A protein supplement, which is all actually just filler and no protein, not having a protein supplement and having to rely on real food or real good high quality whey protein. Like, that first one, the filler one, is the worst because it makes you think you're having protein. Dude, I know people who like, yeah, man, 4 sets every workout, seated calf. And I'm like, no, you're not doing anything.
It's tempting because you get to sit down and it's a good
And
time.
you get to sit down and
you get to
that makes
squeeze
it
and
even
move.
worse. It's not systemically fatiguing. It's not axially taxing. And so it's at seated. It's easy to load, easy to unload. And then all of a sudden you're just like, oh, wow, this is goated. And it's not, because it's bent and it takes the gastrocs out entirely.
It's crazy because you can just literally replace that exercise in your program almost every single time with a selectorized leg press that you do calf raises on.
That's it.
And you're done.
Yeah. Or a staircase with a dumbbell.
Even that, yeah, but that's a bit of a bitch to fucking like hold
I
on
guess
to stuff.
sometimes that's true. Yeah. It's like when a staircase can replace your custom made machine, you have a fucking problem.
Yep. All right. The ab crunch machine.
B tier. Because the ab crunch machine, even if made not so well, now ideally it's got the cam system, make it tougher at the stretch. The ab crunch machine, because it is easily loadable and progressible and allows you to exert yourself in the 5 to 20 RM rep range for both athletic performance, overall strength, and hypertrophy, it's like the only way to take a lot of ab movements and make them like actual resistance training movements compared to something like a plank. It's infinity tier, because like, what is a plank even? Like, we're doing isometrics again? For what? Why? Not to say planks are valueless, but close. And so if an ab machine done right, a good crunch machine, S tier, because instantly the best ab exercise other than like the plate rollout or something. And even it can usually beat a plate rollout because it's not engaging your lats, your shoulders don't get fried, your triceps aren't weird. And a bad one is like C, but because you can load it, it's still decent. So I would say, like A tier for me.
Agreed. I think most machines are built like shit. But at least it's an isolation movement. Even the ones that are built pretty poorly, you can usually position yourself to kind of make it work. So yeah, I'd give it an A tier.
Yeah.
Agreed. The glute bridge machine, or hip thrust machine, whatever you want to call it.
Cam adjusted or no?
No, just the average one.
C tier. And I'll say why it's not D tier, maybe even B tier. Because it is selectorized and padded, it's a great place to do hip thrusts, way better than the barbell. And for that reason alone, it's got a place in the hierarchy that's not last. But of course, because the machine inherently unloads your glutes at the bottom stretch and loads them the top most, it's not getting any higher than C in my department.
I hear it. I think I'll give it probably like a low B. It does have like other hip thrusts, its place for specific people. Like if all you want is glute development and maybe some adductor development. Yeah, it's still good exercise. However, almost every machine ever bottoms out very early.
Oh my God.
Like around as early as a free weight movement. So with a free weight movement, at least you could elevate both your feet and the bench even more and maybe get a bit more stretch than you would with a traditional hip thrust. With a machine, you don't really get that option. Resistance curve is not very good. Low beta, maybe high C tier.
Yeah.
Hack squat.
A tier. The ability to adjust your foot position, especially if they have a plate adjuster, means that it can incorporate a variety of body types. It doesn't take the back out entirely, but it's much easier on the back than traditional hack squatting, because even though there is an axial load, there's no stabilization requirement, and there's no fulcrum on the back. It's just totally vertical. A lot of hack squats allow for a really deep range of motion. If they don't, they're instantly D tier. If I bottom out your hack squat, I'm fucking pissed. Usually I do, but I have my own shit that I put on it, little padding and stuff. A lot of hack squats are smooth. They do allow for a really good myo-rep situation because they're so easy at the top that you can breathe for a few seconds and keep going. And so like, if you give me a choice between the average hack squat and the average leg press, I choose the hack squat every time.
Absolutely.
You can also do 60 squats on a hack squat without killing yourself usually, and that's really good. But that would be for me why it's usually an A tier exercise. S tier would be achieved if you replaced it with a belt squat. But that's my thinking.
I 100% agree in the range of motion component for nearly everyone. Like I've never used a hack squat I couldn't get ass to grass on.
Yeah, well, you're tall king.
I'm tall, so I'm lucky in that regard.
Yeah.
But literally the exact reasons you gave now, I gave recently in my quad tier list video for why hack squats are like high A tier.
Yeah. So
100% agree. I'll take a hack squat almost always over a leg press for that reason.
Yeah.
because it's just more consistently good.
Yes.
All right. Next up, pendulum squat.
I'm debating between C and D tier.
I was going to go C.
C. I'll go with C. It's good. It's full range of motion. If you do it with lengthened partials with 5 spotters,
You'll get pinned. Yeah, Jesus Christ.
Okay, so I take
Terrible
that back. The force curve is backwards. And funny enough, if you know any physics, you could easily make a pendulum squat that had the exact correct force curve, but why would you ever do that? So as they stand now, it's just a machine that's designed to give you as much axial fatigue as you don't need and get you as little quad hypertrophy as you want. So C, maybe.
Just like the leg extension, I just don't see when you would use it. Like, there's
I
a
used to
hack
own
squat.
one. I got rid of it.
Hack squats exist.
Yes.
You know? So why?
Variation is what I would say. But also, like,
there's enough variation to go around, you know?
There is a lot of variation. You got sissy squats, you got Smith machine squats, you got the whole deal. So, yeah, dog shit.
Yep. Belt squats.
S tier, straight up. Now, there's a way to get to like Super Saiyan S tier, which is where you have, I've used the Pit Shark before, and they have a setting there where it's actually hardest at the bottom, easiest at the top. And so I'm actually getting a Pit Shark for my gym at some point soon. And if you have that set up, a lot of times you have a variable platform and variable hooks. And then all of a sudden, it's actually very difficult to envision a better non-hip extending quad exercise than the belt squat. It unloads the spine completely. And it allows for gnarly range of motion, insane variability in foot positions. It's not a risky exercise. If you do myo-rep matching on it or you do myo-reps on it, then you do 2/3 partials until you're like pretty close to failure, lock out, rest, do it again 3 or 4 times. I've actually gotten 6 days of DOMs doing one set like that before. Like it was a set of like 40. And I was like, should I do a second set? And then I couldn't get up. And I was like, and like belt squats are that good. There are a couple of stumbling blocks. Some of them you need to elevate a lot of plates in to get the right tension at the bottom. Sometimes the belt digs into your shit. So wear a sweatshirt and have a nice belt. But these are all tractable problems you can realistically solve. Belt squats are unbelievable in that regard.
Yep. I think as far as quadricep compound movements go, they may just be the best. Especially with a lengthened biased machine.
Yep.
Yeah, I think they might be the best machine compound for sure. And then if you compare it to something like a split squat, which is incredible as well as far as actual loading, belt squats take it one step further while also potentially having better resistance curve with those modifications. So it might just be the best.
Yes. Split squats are cool for me. I get just practical concerns. One is setup, like wobbliness. Another is my adductors and sartorius start to really become a limiting factor when I open my stance up. With a belt squat, it's like, man, it's just a hammer to your quads. Yes,
so
it saves tons of time. Yep,
for sure.
100%.
Beautiful. S tier. Leg press.
A tier. No, I take that back. Average leg press. B tier. And there's such a huge variation. So you get the Arsenal leg press, you put a back pad under it, S tier. You get some other leg presses where like, I guess it was made to be a really good quad exercise for a contortionist because you would have to get into like 80 degrees of hip flexion. And
you get folded before you get any quad stretch.
It's a folding exercise. And so it's again, one of those things I said earlier, it's a machine designed by people who don't lift. You got a fucking problem. But the average leg press with some rigging, you can get it to be a good exercise.
Agreed. I would give it a B as well. Adductor machine.
In specific contexts, if it's a cammed adductor machine, which is quite rare but does happen, it can be A tier. The thing is with adductors is that if you do compound leg work and you do lunging of any kind, then your adductors are so fucking sore all the time that you don't need any more volume. I've never trained adductors by themselves consistently. And I've always had gigantic adductors where I'm like, my quad's big enough for these things. I have to narrow my stance and everything. So it's just one of these, it's like, it's a solution looking for a problem in many cases. The other thing I don't like about the machine, and this is not a criticism of the machine itself, but while we're being just kind of forthright, it's that similar spectrum to the calf machine existing, the seated calf. It's the illusion that you're training your legs. A lot of women will do the extension, curl, and then good girl machine, bad girl machine, adductor, abductor. And they're like, that's legs. And you're like, fuck, you missed every single effective movement -1.
Yeah.
So it's one of these where it's like, if I'm building a gym, I may never have those in there, or it'll be like 5 gym members a day are like, can we please get that machine? I'm like, fine.
Yeah.
That's how I would order it to my gym.
I hear you. I think specifically, so there's 3 muscles in the adductors, the magnus, the brevis, the longus. Those latter 2 don't really get trained during compound movements that well. They're not huge muscles. It's kind of like asking someone if they want to train their forearms or their tibialis anterior or whatever else. If you're that guy, it's a good machine.
Sure.
It's time efficient. You can get a full stretch on almost every machine because of how adjustable they are.
Yep.
If you lean forward, you also get a deep adductor magnus stretch, so it can be some additional good stretch stimulus for that.
Yes. The force curve's often not that great,
Yeah.
unfortunately. But you can do length and partials. Yeah.
You know how it is.
Oh, yeah.
So I give it like an 8 for people who actually care.
Yes.
For most people, it's like doesn't matter.
Irrelevant tier,
Yes.
right?
Abductor machine.
For people for whom it matters, and if the machine is good, A or B tier in many cases. But again, abduction is such a common thing that you do in exercise. If you're doing a holistic leg routine, that it's usually just like interesting to pepper in if you really want more glute hypertrophy, but has so many exercises for glutes ranked ahead of it in general that difficult to justify in many cases.
I think the medius and minimus probably weren't doing it if you were like, I really want to grow my whole legs. The machines usually suck a little bit. It is the only machine people usually have though for that. So resistance profiles are off. Like it's hardest in the very shortened position. The way the machine is set up, you'd get more glute stretch if you brought your leg even past straight ahead.
Have you ever used the multi-hip machine?
I have never used it, but that would allow for it.
Yeah.
So
that's just better machine. Yeah.
That's actually next on the list. Multi-hip machine now.
Yeah. Okay. For those people that need it, S tier, A tier, amazing.
Unilateral though.
Unilateral, so
Long.
A tier.
Yeah.
Usually not needed, so C tier. But again, in a gym, I would almost never buy one. But if someone was interested in it and needed to use it and wanted to use it, it's
Best
a very
choice.
good machine.
Yeah,
Yes.
for that, yeah. Cool. Agree. What about the glute kickback machine?
Emphasizes the wrongest part of the movement in most cases. A lot of the machines, like I feel nothing at the bottom and it's really hard at the top. It's unilateral, which is annoying. Sometimes the foot plate, there's like not a stable place to put your foot. You're like, do I put my toe on here? Do I put my heel on here? Who knows? You're kind of in the handles. It's kind of weird. I like the double fisting position and bent over, which I often do. But I get so much training in my real life from that. I just don't need another machine to reinforce it. So I'd say probably C tier, D tier.
Specificity goes crazy though.
Very crazy.
Yeah, I agree. Again, the sort of machine you hit while traveling in the US.
Yes.
And you're like, nice, trim my legs, let's move on.
Yes. Some of the smooth ones that have a really good force curve are dope.
Or length and partials even.
Correct.
Length and partials, just staying in that stretch position.
Yes.
Is nice.
Yes. But then people think you're having a conniption or something like that. Yeah.
Good. Bonus.
Yeah.
Free healthcare. Standing leg curl.
If the force curve is good, dope. What I tend to notice is, first of all, it's one at a time unilateral, which I don't love. The other thing is like, there's only so much force you can produce when you're kind of floating on one leg.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you have the machine set up to where you can bend over and pre-stretch the ham, it can be pretty good. But usually it's like a pretty C tier machine for me. Like any kind of decent lying leg curl and most seated leg curls instantly blow it out of the water.
It's almost always plate loaded as well.
Yeah.
And the way the camber is set up, zero resistance at the bottom, literally, and then 90 degrees max resistance. So
terrible.
I'll give it like a C or D tier even.
Yeah.
What about the seated leg curl machine?
A tier on average. B tier, if it's built not so great, you can usually still get something out of it. I've used a machine a little while back where it was like impossible to touch the back, but had no force at the top. And I was just like, why? But if you have a machine that's flipped the opposite way, then you're into the money. And if it has enough room for you to lean forward on it, like it's S tier.
Yep, I agree. One huge thing that differentiates seated leg curls in my experience is one, if it's a combo machine, often sucks. Like as in combo leg extension, seated leg curl.
Oh, those are just throwaway machines.
Yes.
Yeah.
But then the One thing that makes a big difference in my experience is the pad here that you can lock in.
Yes.
If you don't have that, it's usually not a good machine.
I don't even know what you're supposed to do with it because you just fly right out of it.
But I'd say like A tier to S tier, depending on the machine.
Also, the lock pad thing, it depends on where the pad goes.
Yep.
Sometimes the pad goes really high on your thighs and it just hurts like crazy.
Yeah.
And if the pad is hard, it's like, dude, I'm not like a pain person or whatever. Like if there's a dominatrix involved, I sure am. But other than that, no. And then if it's a pad that's softer, but is closer to the hip, then it's starting to get somewhere. Yeah.
Right. Last 4 exercises. One is the lying leg curl machine.
In most cases, B tier, high B. Some of the leg curl machines, lying leg curl machines, actually let you go kind of below the full extension position, easily modified with some pads. And then you actually, because of that pad modification, it re-leverages the machine to be tougher at the bottom, not just through the stretch, but through the leverage as well. And then very easy at the top. And so I would say like, yeah, high B in many cases. And I love that the machine is very adjustable. And it's one in which there's a high degree of comfort. Mm-hmm. And you could really focus on just fucking nuking your hamstrings. Whereas other machines have to kind of brace weird and all this other stuff. Yeah. There's nowhere for you to go. It's an auto stabilized machine.
Yep, I agree. I put it at low B just because the seated leg curl is just better for the hamstrings at least. I'll include the lying leg curl every now and then for the sartorius muscle, which gets probably more growth from that. And maybe even the short head of the biceps femoris.
Yep.
But as far as the degrees of freedom go, it is a bit annoying sometimes because unless you are very locked into your technique, it can be very tempting to raise your butt to kind of like finish the rep off or what have you. Where seated leg curl is kind of, besides tempo, if you're locked in, you're locked in.
You're locked in. I like the leg curl varieties, the lying leg curls, which have not a flat plane for you to lie on, but an elevated pyramid plane. Yep. And then it actually, you can stretch at the hips and then it's goated.
Yep,
then it's basically a seated leg curl.
Agreed. Final leg machine, the donkey calf raise.
B or C tier. If the donkey calf is built well and it's easy to get into and out of and you feel real stable when the shit is on your hips, it's B tier, maybe even A. Mm-hmm. But a lot of times, like, you get in there and the shit starts sliding down your back. You don't know how far up and down to do it. The plate that you're pressing on is a little slippery and weird. So it's one of those like expectation versus reality situations. But for me, it's decent. I would say B tier in many cases. I'll use it when I travel and I'll be like, oh, this is neat. But I wouldn't buy one for my home.
Agree 100%. I think they're quite variable and they can be quite uncomfortable if they're poorly built.
Yes.
So yeah, B tier at best. Shoulders, 3 exercises, and then we're done. The first one, the shoulder press machine.
D tier.
Wow.
Yeah. Yes, I don't like that it's even called a shoulder press. It's a vertical press. It's mostly a front delt and tricep exercise. Your side delts are barely involved. Nobody even woke up your rear delts and told them there was a party. And so when I think of shoulders, because front delts get so much work through pressing, to me, shoulders are synonymous with side delts. Capped delts means big side delts, almost always and almost everywhere. And so the shoulder press is a way to get a pretty good upper chest workout if you do it right. Great front delt movement, though, as you said in another video we did, not the best because dips are even better from that big stretch. Decent tricep movement. A lot of warming up, a lot of bullshit to do, a lot of figuring out where your head goes. The thing is, like, I can shoulder press like infinity amount of weight, so it's real good for my ego. But I walk away with it being like, man, if I just did like a high incline press, I would have also trained my chest too and gotten the same for everything else. And so on misnomer alone, I would say like, yeah, C or D. I just think if someone's like, hey, I need help growing my delts, I would never program in a vertical pressing shoulder machine.
I think that's valid. I think if I'm looking at the shoulders overall, I'd say like C or D. But if I'm looking specifically at front delt development, A or even S.
Yeah.
Because I'd say A, just because it's not an isolation movement, moving parts, other things you can give up first. But for a front delt compound movement, besides the dip maybe, it's up there. It's seated, so you have a bit less fatigue and stabilization required. It's usually stack loaded or selectorized, which means more time efficient. You can get a decent stretch.
Some variations of the seat height and stuff.
Yeah, so I'd say like A tier for the front delts, C tier for overall shoulder development. Right, lateral raise machine.
B tier. S tier for the really good ones, D tier for the really bad ones. And
Really?
boy, are there a lot of really bad ones.
Like, what do the bad ones do? Just resistance curve usually? Like, it's basically a dumbbell.
Scott, I'm
sideways?
trying not to name names here. The handles don't rotate properly, so it pulls your VersaGrips off of you. And you can't do them without VersaGrips because then you're pinch gripping it and it's fucking pointless.
Okay.
And also the thing clanks out like right here, but has almost no force here. So the force curve is like heavy and you can't even get past parallel. Because if I'm going to get some force curve up here, I want to do a super ROM to really milk the shit. It's just the worst on all grounds. And also this particular machine, which I'll remain nameless, doesn't even have a step plate. Selectorized step plate. So like if you don't happen to be 6'8", the machine's fucking useless. And if you're under 5'3", then it's it might as well not exist for you. Like you can do pull-ups on it better. Whereas something like the Atlantis machine, the Panada machine, if Atlantis took their current machine and just put a cam system in it, made it seated, put a cam system, even just a cam system, it would instantly rocket up to the best fucking shoulder machine you could ever use. So there's big range there. Yeah,
I would agree with that, with the exception of ideally a good ladder raise machine will also let you come across a little bit.
You're right. A tier. A tier.
But otherwise,
unless you're teleporting through yourself, how do you make that machine?
I mean,
but then it's unilateral, right?
Yeah, so it's a bit sad. All right, rear delt fly. We covered that kind of earlier, but CT, you said?
CBC, yeah. It's just a machine. Again, it's a solution to a problem most people didn't have. If it's cam adjusted, and I have used a couple of those, then it's pretty good. High B, low A. But again, in many of the machines, they don't even let you come in real close together. So it's like, what the hell are we doing?
I'd have to give it like a B or a C, purely because there are far worse exercises out there. Like if you look at bent over rear delt flies, for example, with like dumbbells, or like even on a bench, like
bent over rear delt flies have the added benefit of having a fuckload of systemic and axial fatigue for almost nothing. It's amazing.
But then you have better exercises as well, like the rear delt cable crossover, or like what I've been doing recently in a hotel gym, for example, is just grabbing a dumbbell and doing an opposite dumbbell fly effectively, where you just come across the body and get a deep stretch and no resistance here. It's something. So yeah, I give it like a C. Yeah,
C's fine.
Beautiful.
C's get degrees.
I think we've covered every major machine. Like, someone's going to comment, you missed the fucking donkey banded calf race by Panada, whatever.
Yeah.
But I think we covered everything.
I love it. Well, you guys have heard our opinions. Enjoy. Scott, if you don't thumbnail title this with the traditional S all the way to D, I'm going to tell you right now, you can pack up your shit. I'm not titling it, and I'm not packing up my shit. Milo, that's all we have, huh?
That's all we have.